But I was involved in the racism incidents myself at U.B.C. connected with the Holocaust. In the early 70s, what happened was I was teaching a class to engineering students, a mathematics class to engineering students. And the class at that time was, all but two were white students. And one was a Syrian student, and one was a Taiwanese student. And they put out, and I noticed they were not really, they were kind of very separate from the rest of the class. But then the engineering students in those days put out a newsletter every week. And it was an anonymous newsletter because there was no editorial board listed. And in this particular newsletter, they made fun of these two students. And I knew that they were kind of different from the class, so I protested to the class. And the next newsletter, they attacked me under a pseudonym, and another professor whose name was Davinsky, but it was under a pseudonym as well, and talked about turning Jews into soap and this sort of thing. And I refused to teach. I went on strike at that time. And my colleagues in mathematics who taught engineering all refused to teach their engineering math courses too. And so it was a very difficult time for me. I didn't want, and the press and media were all after me, and I tried to be incognito. I didn't want to be a center of attention at all. And I got to know Kim Campbell. I met Kim Campbell this way. Well, I knew Kim Campbell before. She was the girlfriend of Davinsky. They eventually married. And Davinsky lived across the street from me in a high-rise. So the three of us cocooned together. Kim Campbell, myself, and Davinsky. And it was, then there was, I think there was even a story in the New York Times about this professors going on strike at the time. So I'm told. I never saw this story. But there were so many stories about that. And but it would be unheard of to hear things like that today. At the same time, the same stories tackled the problem of how women were being treated in engineering, and the Lady Godiva ride, and then there was an investigation, and no longer was Lady Godiva ride allowed at U.B.C. as a consequence of this incident, and the engineering students were punished. It was a big investigation. The newsletter was canceled though. The anonymous newsletter was canceled, in fact, and the engineering students had club privileges were taken away from them for a while. So things were done. The president was not happy that the math professors went on strike. He said only I was entitled to go on strike. That's the worst possible answer to give, because when you're alone, it's really you become the victim. And anyhow, I'm just saying that those kind of things wouldn't happen today. So what I'm trying to say now is that nowadays the interest is more focused on problems, which are right to be so, of indigenous students. And in fact, I am myself involved with society to help indigenous students, and have mentored indigenous students. But and the black community and the Jewish question or Holocaust, people don't pay attention to that now in the overall situation. I think it's not. I think it'd be difficult to get something for Rudolf Vrba in the present climate.